seemed to be just another normal night like any other. In all the world, on all the nights, on all the trains, I had to get on this one. I had to ride the Murder Express.
And that's the game that we're currently playing. Hey guys, hey page hunters, this is Levont here, and, well, as the intro said, we're in the Murder Express. Now this is the itch.io who-dunnit game. So, I guess here we go.
What was that?
What was there? It's a toggle, okay. So here we go.
My God, he's been murdered.
Let's see.
The murder doesn't seem to be motivated by money. Curious, that.
Huh. Not motivated by money.
It would appear the victim's head was beaten in by a blunt object. A pipe or a baseball bat from the looks of it. Unless I missed my guess, it looks like we're dealing with one sick son of a bitch.
And let's see.
Looks like the victim handcuffed the suitcase to their wrist. Guess he really didn't want to risk losing whatever was inside.
Jeez. Be careful not to get too close to anyone when the lights goes out. Okay. Hello.
I saw Ramirez walking around with a pipe earlier.
Ramirez?
I noticed Dennehy watching Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we bought it earlier. You never know where the murder weapon might be hidden. Be sure to search all over.
Alright.
I'm pretty sure I saw Dennehy carrying a pipe before we got on board.
So it was a pipe.
I could hear Doss and Mr. Duvall really going at it earlier. Not sure what they were arguing over, but it seemed intense.
Any other
That's
information?
all I got, Inspector.
Suspect has a key.
Oh, well, I saw this key on the floor earlier. What do you think it goes to? Oh, well, I saw this key on the floor earlier.
Interesting.
What do you think it goes to?
Why would you have handcuff keys? Nope. Suspect has a key.
I told Mr. Duvall I could look after this key for him until we got off the train. I
It's a
noticed
suitcase.
Dahmer wandering around with a pipe earlier.
Dahmer?
I remember seeing Berkowitz looking real hard at Mr. Duvall's briefcase before we got on the train. I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to say with any real certainty, Inspector.
Okay, so... Dahmer? Oh, right. Oh, wow.
I think I saw Kemper brandishing a pipe earlier. I witnessed Dennehy glaring at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier. Have you thoroughly checked the crime scene? Sometimes, the biggest clues can be the hardest to spot.
All right.
Looks like the victim handcuffed the suitcase to their wrist. Guess he really didn't want to risk losing whatever was inside.
Okay, so... let's check over here. Oh, lights out. Jeez. You're Ramirez.
I saw Doss walking around with a rope earlier.
Okay.
I noticed Dahmer watching Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier.
So everyone's saying Dahmer.
Knowing the motivation for the crime might help narrow down who committed the murder.
Yeah, it would. But who are you? You're Kemper.
What did I see? Well, I guess I remember Miss Fisher walking around with a gun earlier.
Okay, Fisher.
I did see Mr. Gacy looking at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as he boarded earlier. Well, I don't know anything else, Inspector.
Okay, so... Nope. 1, 2, 3. I have yet to talk to Topin, Casey, Ramsey, Wiley, and Chris. Oh, alright.
I'm quite certain I witnessed Ramsey gallivanting about with a gun earlier. I witnessed Dennehy staring at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier. All I can say is that it would be wise to be wary of suspicious characters, especially when the lights go out. It is likely the killer would be inclined to strike again if the opportunity were to present itself.
Like you? Alright, here we go.
I'm certain I saw Ramsey waving around a rope earlier. I definitely heard Ramirez and Mr. Duvall talking about something earlier.
Ramil
They seemed pretty mad with each other.
and Duvall.
Hey, if I knew more, Inspector, I'd tell you.
Well, so far, first with Buntley, Gacy, and Toplin. I have yet to determine their weapon of choice. Or at least their weapon. So... Alright, so...
I noticed Dahmer wandering around with a
Okay.
pipe earlier.
Dahmer. Nope, not yet. Wait till the light back on.
I think I saw Kemper brandishing a pipe earlier.
So a lot of people are saying Dahmer. I still don't know the weapons for these four, so... Okay, let's talk with them.
Well, I can recall seeing Fisher holding a gun earlier.
Why do everyone have a weapon?
Oh, I thought I might have heard Kemper and Mr. Duvall arguing over something earlier.
Kemper and...
They seem pretty ticked off at one another. It would probably be in the killer's best interest to pretend like they didn't know as much as they do. Might be something to consider, Inspector.
Well, I ain't... I'm still interrogating you. Alright, buddy.
I believe I saw Fisher walking around with a gun earlier. I could hear Doss and Mr. Duvall fighting about something
So it's
earlier.
definitely Doss and
It seemed
Duvall.
pretty intense. I'd tell you more if I knew more, Inspector.
And you.
I believe I saw Ramsey waving around a rope earlier.
Okay.
I saw Gacy gawking at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we got on the train earlier.
Oh, hold up. Alright, alright. Let's see.
If I hear anything, Inspector, I'll be sure to let you know.
Alright, Alright, so it really does seem like weapon, Gacy, Bloody and Borowski doesn't have weapons. And we did recover a pipe. So it's Denise, Ramirez, Dahmer, and Kemper. What is... That's right. And everyone is saying Dahmer.
I witnessed Dennehy glaring at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier.
Denny, you say. Okay. Denny has a pipe. Okay, well, jeez. What do you...
I saw Gacy gawking at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we got on the train earlier.
Okay, so... Denise has a pipe. Gacy... No idea on the weapon. But you do have the suitcase.
I noticed Dahmer wandering around with a pipe earlier. I remember seeing Berkowitz looking real hard at Mr. Duvall's briefcase before we got on the train.
Berkowitz?
I remember seeing Berkowitz looking real hard at Mr. Duvall's briefcase before we got on the train. I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to say with any real certainty, Inspector.
Alright. Let's see. Gacy doesn't have a weapon, or at least we don't know the weapon. Everyone's saying Dahmer.
I noticed Dennehy watching Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded
Dennehy.
earlier.
I could hear Doss and Mr. Duvall really going at it earlier. Not sure what they were arguing over, but it seemed intense.
Right. Dennehy.
I saw Doss walking around with a rope earlier.
Okay,
What did I see? Well, I guess I remember Miss Fisher walking around with a gun earlier. I did see Mr. Gacy looking at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier.
I noticed Dahmer watching Mr. Duvall's
So-
briefcase as we boarded earlier.
Gacy, Mr. Dahmer. I'm definitely thinking either Dahmer or Dennehy.
I'm quite certain I witnessed Ramsey gallivanting about with a gun earlier.
Okay, Ramsey.
I witnessed Dennehy staring at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier.
I'm certain I saw Ramsey waving around a rope earlier. I definitely heard Ramirez and Mr. Duvall talking about something earlier. They seemed pretty mad with each other.
There's someone's lying. Ramirez. So, I should actually check on who.
I did see Mr. Gacy looking at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier.
So, Gacy first. He's suspect because no one knows what weapon he has.
I noticed Dahmer watching Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier.
Dahmer. Okay. Dahmer has a pipe, so he's there. Ramirez and
I could hear Doss and Mr. Duvall really going at it earlier. Not sure what they were arguing over, but it seemed intense. Oh, well, I saw this key on the floor earlier. What do you think it goes to?
Okay, and Ramsey.
I noticed Dennehy watching Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we bought it earlier.
Alright. Dennehy and Dahmer are my two biggest punches.
I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to say with any real certainty, Inspector.
Alright.
I remember seeing Berkowitz looking real hard at Mr. Duvall's briefcase before we got on the train.
Berkowitz.
I told Mr. Duvall I could look after this key for him until we got off the train.
And
I think I saw Kemper brandishing a pipe earlier. I witnessed Dennehy glaring at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier.
so two people saw Dennehy's. Nope. What do you have to say?
I saw Gacy walking at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we got on the train earlier.
Gacy with the look. Gacy with the look. But wasn't Gacy the one with the keys? Yeah, the suitcase keys.
I remember seeing Berkowitz looking real hard at Mr. Duvall's briefcase before we got on the train. I told Mr. Duvall I could look after this key for him until we got off the train.
I mean, no one's seen the weapon Gacy had, and he does have the key, but then at the same time, Dennehy. A lot of people are saying Dennehy. You know what? I say screw it. Let's accuse Dennehy.
Damn. Should have looked for more clues.
Players chose Dennehy.
Better luck next time.
Camphor? Well,
It
alright.
was a cold night in June. I'd boarded a train to East End. It seemed to be just a...
Alright.
What was that?
Round 2. Jeez.
My God.
Let's see.
He's been murdered. The murder doesn't seem to be motivated by money. Curious, that.
Not money?
Victim died from a gunshot wound to the head. Yeah, that'd do it all right. Now,
Gunshot wound to the
questions
head.
become, where's the gun? And who pulled the trigger? Looks like the victim handcuffed the suitcase to their wrist. Guess he really didn't want to risk losing whatever was inside.
Alright.
I saw Ramirez walking around with a knife earlier.
So,
I
knife's into play.
overheard Dennehy and Mr. Duvall arguing earlier. It sounded pretty heated. You never know where the murder weapon might be hidden. Be sure to search all over.
So it's definitely a...
I'm pretty sure I saw Denny getting a gun before we got on board. I remember Ramirez seemed pretty interested in Mr. Duvall's briefcase back at the train station. That's all I got, Inspector.
Alright, well, before the lights. And I don't have... Suspect has a key.
I saw Kemper walking around with a gun earlier.
Okay.
I thought I heard Dennehy and Mr. Duvall arguing earlier. It sounded pretty heated. I wish I could tell you more, Inspector.
So what do you have?
Mr. Duvall wanted me to hang on to this key until the end of the train ride.
Alright.
What did I see? Well, I guess I remember Miss Ramsey walking around with a pipe earlier.
No, don't need that.
I think I heard Mr. Bundy and Mr. Duvall fighting about something earlier. Sounded like they were pretty mad at each other. Well, I don't know anything else, Inspector.
So we're looking for a gun. Gun? And someone who's been last seen with the gun. Ooh,
I'm
you
quite
have a key.
certain I witnessed Ramirez gallivanting about with a knife earlier.
Ramirez has a knife. So... she wouldn't
I
be able to...
believe I overheard Berkowitz and Mr. Duvall fighting about something earlier. It sounded like a rather toxic conversation. All I can say is that it would be wise to be wary of suspicious characters, especially when the lights go out. It is likely the killer would be inclined to strike again if the opportunity were to present itself.
Yeah, speed it up. And you have the key.
I found this key on the floor earlier. I cannot say for certain what it goes to.
And you got the... Alright.
I'm certain I saw Topon moving around a knife earlier.
Topon's
I
immediately
remember Ramirez glaring at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we bought it earlier. Hey, if I knew more, Inspector, I'd tell you.
Out before I get stabbed! So far, Kemper and Denise. Denise had a gun on her. Kemper as well, but Denise has been seen arguing. I still don't know everyone else's murder weapon.
I remember Ramirez seemed pretty interested in Mr. Duvall's briefcase back at the train station.
Ramirez.
I'm pretty sure I saw Denny getting a gun before we got on board.
I saw Ramirez walking around with a knife earlier.
Ramirez with a knife?
I overheard Dennehy and Mr. Duvall arguing earlier. It sounded pretty heated.
Yeah, I just need...
I noticed Dahmer wandering around with a knife earlier.
Okay.
I could hear Dennehy and Mr.
It's a
Duvall
lot of
shouting
Dennehy.
something earlier. They were quite loud about the whole affair. I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to say with any real certainty.
So I'm thinking
Inspector.
Dennehy here.
I think I saw Doss brandishing a gun earlier. I believe I heard Berkowitz and Mr. Duvall fighting about something earlier. They seemed pretty angry with each other. Have you thoroughly checked the crime scene? Sometimes the biggest clues can be the hardest to spot.
I'll check the crime scene again.
Victim died from a gunshot wound to the head. Yeah, that'd do it all right. Now, the questions become, where's the gun, and who pulled the trigger?
Not motivated by money.
Looks like the victim handcuffed the suitcase to their wrist. Guess he really didn't want to risk losing whatever was inside.
Alright, so... I just don't have... DOS, okay.
Well, I can recall seeing Gacy holding a rope earlier. I saw Kemper glaring at Mr. Duvall's briefcase before back at the train station. I'm not really sure I know anything of real value, Inspector.
Alright, Bundy?
I believe I saw Dahmer walking around with a knife earlier. I remember seeing Ramirez staring at Mr. Duvall's briefcase as we boarded earlier. I'd tell you more if I knew more, Inspector.
Alright. And then he...
I believe I saw Kemper waving around a gun earlier. I witnessed Dahmer and Mr. Duvall fighting about something earlier. They seemed pretty angry with each other.
I thought it was...
If I hear anything, Inspector, I'll be sure to let you know.
Okay, so... Dahmer is out of the question. Everyone's saying Dennehy's. There's a lot of Dennehy's, so I'm going with her.
Sometimes late at night.
What the hell?
So well, with a spooky screechy sound.
Jeez.
Off the rail.
But yeah, that's definitely the Murder Express. Now this is a very interesting who-dunnit kind of game. So all in all, it's pretty okay. One of the things I let's talk about the goods. Obviously it's more of a logic-based game, if anything else. So if you're good with puzzles or anything, then you'd probably be able to figure it out a lot quicker than I did. I didn't really get attacked, but then again, I was in interrogation mode during the times where the cabin went dark, so I guess that's a safety measure, maybe? I don't know. If there's one thing I'd probably suggest the developers to do a little bit more is kind of make it a little bit, kind of give us a bit more areas to work with. So we only got 4 cabins of the train to ask the questions and all that. I would probably say let us have restrooms and all that so that we could actually find other clues that could have happened, when we searched the criminal, the victim. But that's just my ideas on that. But this is a very interesting game, I'm not gonna lie. So if you're into those mind games, I would definitely recommend giving this game a shot. And the fact that it has a randomizer for each case, murder, and murder weapons and all that, it's really good on replayability. So I definitely give this one a play, if anything else. So on that note, thank you for watching this video. If you like what you saw, throw this video a like. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.